My name is Thomas Graham. I am 66 years old. 3 days ago, I was driving home from a doctor's appointment when I saw a woman begging at an intersection, holding a baby against her chest in the desert heat. When she looked up at me, I realized it was my own daughter. She whispered one sentence to me that changed everything. "Dad, please go. They are watching us." I did not go. I opened the car door and told her to get in. What I did not know yet was how deep the plan against her went, and how far I was willing to go to end it. Before I tell you what happened next, please hit like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time below. I love knowing where you are listening from. Now let me take you back to the man my daughter married 2 years ago, the man I warned her about, and the lesson I wish she had learned sooner. Jessica was my only child. I raised her mostly on my own after her mother passed, working long hours to give her every advantage I could. I remember teaching her to ride a bike in the driveway of our house on a quiet street in Las Vegas. The smell of hot asphalt and cut grass in the evening air. I remember her small hand gripping mine at her mother's funeral, and how I promised myself right there that nothing would ever hurt her again while I had breath left in me. Confident, well-dressed, always asking her questions about money and property. At the very first dinner I told her, "I do not trust him." She laughed it off, told me I never liked anyone she dated at the wedding. Walking her down the aisle, I asked her one more time if she was certain. She smiled and said it was the happiest day of her life. I gave them a house, I gave them a car, I helped set up for $100,000 in savings, so she would never have to worry the way I once did. I wanted her to have everything I never had. Growing up, I did not yet understand that everything I gave her would become the very thing Kyle used against her. 3 days after Sophie was born, Kyle came home with a silver bracelet engraved with the words "Sophie's mom." Jessica told me later she thought he was the most thoughtful husband alive. Then he pulled out papers, told her it was an insurance policy to protect their daughter's future, and asked for her signature. She had not slept in days. She signed without reading a word. It was a power of attorney. After that, Kyle and her mother Patricia had telling her she did not bring back a man my age with my blood pressure. That is the kind of language people use once they decide a person's blood. She admitted through tears, was ashamed she had defended Kyle against my warnings for 2 years, and she was too ashamed to admit I had been right. I drove Jessica and Sophie to an old friend's motel on Boulder Highway, a quiet place where nobody asked questions. For 2 days we rested, and I watched the color slowly return to my granddaughter's cheeks. But I knew hiding would not be enough. Kyle had money and connections, and men like him do not simply give up, they escalate. I went to see my old friend Samuel Porter, an attorney I had known for 15 years. I told him everything. He brought in a financial investigator named Kenneth Morris, a careful man who told me plainly, $400,000 does not disappear without leaving a trail. Wire transfers, account changes, property records, it is all there if you know where to look. Samuel laid out the plan. We would file for a restraining order, then build a case for fraud and coercion using every document, every signature, every witness who had seen what Jessica endured at those intersections. Kyle, meanwhile, was already moving. A man showed up at the motel door claiming to represent him, threatening me with talk of custody interference and my own weak heart. I told him to leave. He told me they would find us again. That night, as I sat by the motel window watching the parking lot, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Your daughter is all over Facebook. Better act fast." Kyle had posted a video of Jessica at that intersection, calling her unstable and accusing her of abandoning their family. 15,000 people had already seen it, and his mother Patricia had left a comment about how hard she had tried to help poor Jessica. I sat there in the dark knowing exactly what they did not, that every single word they posted publicly would become evidence against them in court. I wanted to respond to the video immediately, to tell the world the truth. Samuel told me, "No, if you respond now," he said, "you look defensive. And Kyle wants you to fight him in public because he can control that narrative. Let him keep talking. Let him and Patricia dig their own grave with every comment they leave. When the time comes, we will bury him with his own words." I hated waiting. I wanted to drive to Kyle's house myself. Instead, I sat with Jessica through the night as she read comment after comment calling her a bad mother, a scammer, Someone who did not deserve her own child. I wish this had never happened to her. I wish Kyle had been the kind of husband who protected her instead of one who calculated exactly how much she was worth on paper. But wishes do not undo 2 years of manipulation. The truth does. A younger man named Garrett, Kyle's brother, showed up at our new apartment in Henderson one evening, calm and threatening in the same breath. Reminding me of my heart condition through the closed door, I told him to leave. He told me we would be found again that night. I sat alone in a chair by the door long after Jessica and Sophie had finally fallen asleep, and for the first time since finding my daughter at that intersection, I let myself cry, not from weakness, from finally understanding exactly how close I had come to losing her. A younger man named Garrett, Kyle's brother, showed up at our new apartment in Henderson one evening, calm and threatening in the same breath. Reminding me of my heart condition through the closed door, I told him to leave. He told me we would be found again. That night I sat alone in a chair by the door, long after Jessica and Sophie had finally fallen asleep, and for the first time since finding my daughter at that intersection, I let myself cry, not from weakness, from finally understanding exactly how close I had come to losing her. Just after midnight, I signed the final affidavit myself, the one that would accompany the restraining order and the fraud complaint being filed against Kyle and Patricia Richardson at 9 that morning. 12:03. I am 66 years old. I am, for the first time in 3 days, no longer running across the city. Kyle was almost certainly still watching his video climb past 50,000 views, confident that public opinion was already on his side. He had no idea that every comment his mother left, every accusation he posted, was being quietly logged as evidence by a journalist I had already contacted, waiting for exactly the right moment to publish the truth. By 9 that morning, Samuel filed the restraining order and the fraud complaint in Clark County Court, along with Kenneth's full financial trail and sworn statements from the outreach volunteer who had witnessed Jessica being left at intersections for weeks. By early afternoon, Nathan Clark, the journalist, published the real story alongside screenshots of Kyle and Patricia's own comments. Every accusation he posted was being quietly logged as evidence by a journalist I had already contacted, waiting for exactly the right moment to publish the truth. By 9 that morning, Samuel filed the restraining order and the fraud complaint in Clark County Court, along with Kenneth's full financial trail and sworn statements from the outreach volunteer who had witnessed Jessica being left at intersections for weeks. By early afternoon, Nathan Clark, the journalist, published the real story alongside screenshots of Kyle and Patricia's own comments. The narrative flipped within hours. The very post Kyle had used to paint Jessica as unstable became the centerpiece of a story about a family who trafficked their own daughter-in-law for spare change while controlling her finances through fraud. Reporters called Kyle's employer. The restraining order was granted the same day, along with emergency temporary custody for Jessica. Kyle called my phone that afternoon, his voice nothing like the calm, cold tone his brother had used at my door days earlier. He asked what I wanted. I told him nothing that involved him ever again. He went quiet in a way I had never heard from him before. He had looked at me for 2 years like I was simply an old man he could manage. He was not looking at me that way anymore. I used to tell Jessica, trust is not something you hand someone because they are charming. It is something you build over years of watching what they do when nobody else is looking. I always thought I was simply giving fatherly advice. I understand now I was describing the exact test Kyle failed from the very beginning. Kyle lost his job within the month once the story spread, and is currently facing fraud charges alongside his mother Patricia. Samuel continues handling the recovery of what remains of the $400,000 through the courts. As for Jessica, she and Sophie live near me now, and I watch my granddaughter grow up safe, fed, and loved for exactly who she is instead of what she can be used for. I think about that afternoon on Charleston Boulevard every time I drive past that intersection now, and I think silence almost cost me my daughter. It was only the truth, spoken at exactly the right moment, that brought her home. If you have ever had to fight quietly for someone you love while the whole world believed the wrong story, I want to hear it. Tell me in the comments, and if this one moved you, subscribe to Dad's Revenge Tales. There is more where this came from.